To conceal one of the most audacious intelligence operations in modern history, the Mossad created an elaborate cover on Sudan's remote Red Sea coast. The plan hinged on deception, so convincing that it would blur the lines between fiction and reality. Under the name Sudan Tours and Marine Leisure Ltd., Mossad agents rented an abandoned Italian-built diving village known as Aroos on the Red Sea. Once a failed luxury resort from the 1960s, it sat empty amid golden sands and turquoise water, perfectly scheduled yet plausible for the turn of the project. They refurbished the site, brought in freshwater tanks, electricity generators, and imported equipment for scuba diving. They printed glossy brochures, completed photos of coral reefs, and happy European tourists, and began marketing the resort through legitimate international travel agencies. Soon, guests started arriving from Europe and even some Australians, blissfully unaware that their hosts were Israeli intelligence officers. By day, the Mossad team played their roles flawlessly, welcoming tourists, teaching diving lessons, and serving dinner under lantern light. By night, they coordinated secret rescue convoys hundreds of kilometers by land, arranging the extraction of Ethiopian Jewish refugees from Sudan's camps to the sea. To the Sudanese authorities, the foreign investors were a gift. The operation created local jobs, drivers, cleaners, cooks, and maintenance staff from nearby villages, and injected the much-needed cash flow into the region, long neglected by Khartoum. Even provincial officials visited the site, praising it as a symbol of a new hope for the Red Sea tourism. For years, the Aroos diving village thrived in its strange double life. By day, it was a peaceful haven for the sunburned European tourists, Sudanese fishermen, and cheerful staff in crisp uniforms. By night, it was a secret portal to another world, a passage for refugees who vanished into the Red Sea and reappeared in Palestine. At first, the operation worked seamlessly. The resort brought real jobs and genuine prosperity to the sea. Locals were proud of it. A little paradise, some called it. Foreigners came, money flowed, and no one suspected that behind the laughter of the divers and the clink of glasses at dinner, Mossad agents were orchestrating one of the boldest smuggling operations in modern history. But in Sudan, nothing stays secret forever. It began with small murmurs in nearby villages. Drivers who carried supplies to Aroos at odd hours spoke of strange cargo. Fishermen saw lights offshore at midnight. What kind of tourists dive at night? One man joked. But behind the laughter, suspicion began to grow. Then came the stories from the desert roads, of unmarked trucks moving after curfew, of soldiers waved aside by foreign men with polished smiles and fluent Arabic, but heavy accents. The local security services filed reports, but in a country already crawling with rebels, smugglers, and contraband routes, the divers did not seem like the biggest threat. And word travels fast in a place where rumor is often more trusted than fact. By 1981, the Sudanese military had begun quietly tightening its watch along the Red Sea. A few officers had become suspicious of the European staff who never seemed to age, never rotated, and never traveled with families. One night, a patrol near Port Sudan encountered a convoy of trucks moving north towards the darkness of the sea. When challenged, the drivers hesitated. Shots were fired. One Sudanese soldier was killed in the confusion. The trucks vanished into the dunes, and when the search teams arrived at dawn, there was nothing but tire tracks leading towards the sea. The incidents reached Khartoum, and questions were asked. Who were these foreigners? What was really happening at Aroos? Sudanese intelligence began to send plainclothes officers to pose as tourists. The Mossad agents spotted them quickly. The way they didn't know how to hold a snorkel or fit a diving mask. The Israelis knew then that the curtains was falling. For the Mossad team, the warning signs were impossible to ignore. A few of their local contacts had been quietly interrogated. Supply trucks were being stopped and searched. Even their local staff seemed nervous, whispering that the government was looking for spies. The Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv sent one final order: shut it down, get out. Within days, the resort began to fall like a stage after the final act. Equipment was packed into trucks under the pretense of maintenance. Radios, maps, and coded papers were destroyed. The last tourists checked out, leaving behind glowing reviews in the guestbook. A hidden gem on the Red Sea, one wrote. On the final night, the agents loaded what they could and slipped away towards the airstrip. One by one, they were extracted by a small aircraft, leaving behind an empty resort glowing faintly under the moonlight. When Sudanese authorities finally arrived days later, they found the place deserted. The kitchen still smelled faintly of coffee. Diving tanks sat in neat rows, but the foreigners were gone, and with them, every trace of their purpose. The officials were stunned. Some believed it had been an arms smuggling front. Others suspected Western intelligence. No one could quite believe that Israel, the sworn enemy of the Arab world, had operated a secret base on Sudanese soil for years. Out of embarrassment and fear of public backlash, Khartoum kept the discovery quiet. Officially, the resort had closed due to financial troubles, and so the Aroos diving village vanished into the wind. The locals told stories for years afterward of foreigners who came from nowhere, of soldiers who died without explanation, of trucks that carried ghosts to the sea. In truth, the Mossad had escaped by a thread. Aroos became a ghost town, its beauty dimmed, its secrets buried beneath the waves. When the next phase of the Ethiopian evacuation began, Israel switched to airlifts, secret flights, coordinated through other allies, leaving behind the Red Sea resort that had once fooled the world. In occupied Palestine, questions arose over the authenticity of the Ethiopian Jewish identity. Religious authorities demanded that many undergo symbolic conversions, implying doubt about their lineage. This left many Ethiopian Jews feeling humiliated and alienated with the very society that had been told would welcome them as brothers and sisters. Economic and social integration proved equally difficult. The new arrivals often settled in temporary absorption centers or peripheral towns far from job opportunities and educational resources. Many Israelis unfamiliar with Africa beyond stereotypes viewed the newcomers as outsiders. Discrimination in housing, employment, and education soon became a painful reality. Then came a more disturbing revelation. Reports surfaced that some Ethiopian women had been giving long-term contraceptive treatments such as Depo-Provera, often without their understanding or consent. The allegations sparked a national outrage and international condemnation. Investigations followed, forcing Israeli officials to confront the issue of racial bias within the government institutions and the medical system. For Israel, the operation became a symbol of national ingenuity, yet for others, the operation raised uncomfortable questions. It blurred the line between humanitarianism and self-interest. While undeniably they saved lives, it also served a political purpose, reinforcing Israel's narrative as a refuge for all Jews, even as it faced global condemnation for its actions in Palestine. In Sudan, the operation's memory lingers as a story of foreign deception on Sudan's soil, a tale of how an entire intelligence apparatus set up camp under the guise of business, manipulating local goodwill and exploiting the country's vulnerabilities.